Good morning. Let's go back to where we were yesterday. I think we had just been talking about the field officers and the CIT officer Monet, and just for the jury, to remind the jury, did you identify the CIT officer Monet who was negotiating with Mr. Boyd as states 27A, the fellow in the sunglasses?
Yes.
Where was he sent after he was pulled off negotiating with Mr. Boyd?
I believe he was sent to a perimeter position.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury the perimeter again, please?
Yes. Once when tactical officers show up and they pull the field officers to a perimeter, you're going to have kind of an outer ring around where the area in question is, which in this point was James Boyd's camp. So kind of the outer ring of where James Boyd was standing is what we call the perimeter, and that's where the field officers were stationed, kind of in a loose 360 circle around him.
Okay, and let me refresh your recollection if you don't, do you remember exactly where he was?
No, I don't.
Did you, after you completed your investigation, actually do diagrams to indicate where all the officers were at the time of the shooting?
Yes, and it was based on sketches that had been received from the officers during their interviews.
Okay, each one did a separate sketch?
Yes.
And you figured out where everybody was at the time of the shooting?
I did.
Okay, well, refresh your recollection to show you a diagram.
Yes.
Let me show you what's marked as States Exhibit 17B. And can you tell, does that refresh your recollection on where CIT Officer Monet was sent?
Yes, it does.
Can you tell the jury where he was sent?
Down by that kind of that large tree at the bottom of the picture along the main trail right there. So just west of where James Boyd was located.
Now, there was a second CIT officer there,
Yes.
Brock Niprath, who I think you identified yesterday as States Exhibit 26A.
Yes.
And was he sent away from the area of negotiations with Mr. Boyd?
Yes, he was.
Where was he sent?
He was sent north along the northern perimeter with K-9 Officer Kenneth Ronzone.
Okay, so as we look at the diagram that we saw yesterday, he's over here on this.
Objection leading, Your Honor.
All right, let me just pull the diagram.
Sustained.
Detective Stone, can you identify Exhibit 72, please, for the jury?
Yes, it's a kind of a blown-up aerial version of, or aerial photograph of the area that we're talking about, U-Mound, where James Boyd's camp was, and the surrounding area where the perimeter was.
This is the area where all of these people were sent, is that right?
All the officers, that's correct.
Okay, and this is a closer version of the U-Mound that we showed earlier, is that right?
It appears to be, yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Judge.
I could not see yesterday when you were pointing out direction, and I need to have you hold that up.
Okay, Judge.
I just want to verify that the bottom of that photograph is west and the top is east?
If you see in the upper right-hand corner, the north-seeking arrow is that way, the little circle?
Yeah.
So north is this way, so
Okay.
east is up, west is down, south to the right, north to the left.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And you had offered it?
yes, I did.
Any objection to 72?
I just don't understand the top of it, and maybe you can explain that. See how it's cut off? It looks like
Okay.
Right.
Why is the top part cut off? It looks like it's...
It's,
I'm sorry, Pauline.
Yeah.
no, well, I didn't say that you could voir dire the witness.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So if Ms. McGinn...
Because I don't
Sure.
understand the picture.
So let's have Ms. McGinn ask some further
In order
questions.
to orient the jury to this picture, did we put something in to show the top of the U-Mound?
Yes, it appears so.
Okay, and what is this little part up here?
That appears to be the top of U-Mound.
Okay, and that's just to orient them. This isn't how the scene actually looks.
Well, no, because the bottom part here, where the cutoff portion is, that's an aerial photo, and that appears to be kind of a photo taken from someone.
Okay, great. May I move 72, Judge?
I object because apparently it's a combination of two photos, and he didn't do both, Your Honor. So it just is confusing.
Okay. Mr. Robles, any objection? 72 is admitted.
Okay. Can you come down, Detective Stone? We'll show the jury what you're supposed to have.
Yes.
If want to bring the thing that you used to refresh the recollection on where everybody was. So, Mr. Boyd is somewhere, well, first of all, can you tell us where Mr. Boyd is approximately?
So approximately, Mr. Boyd's camp is going to be up in this area, so he's standing right around this area.
All right, and show me where the two CIT officers were sent. First, CIT Officer Monet.
Officer Monet, when he was sent down, is around this tree right here on the trail.
Okay, and where was CIT Officer Brock Niprath sent with the other canine officers?
Officer Brock Niprath is going to be over here in the northern perimeter in this area, north of the airport.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Sit back down.
About a half hour before the shooting, did the rope team people begin asking to send CIT officers?
Objection to the question being vague, not specific about who. She's going to ask for a hearsay.
Speaking-
know specifically which officer it is.
Ask you to rephrase.
Okay. Was there a call put out in the last half, or about the last half hour before the shooting, asking for dispatch to send CIT officers?
I do recall something like that. I don't remember it coming from the rope team or anyone from the rope team. I recall Canine Officer Weimerskirch asking about it, I believe.
Okay, so let me ask you about that. If they already had two CIT officers on site, why didn't they know that?
I don't know.
Okay, in the interviews that were conducted, did either Defendant Sandy or Defendant Weimerskirch ever indicate that before they sent the CIT officers away, that they debriefed them to find out what they'd been doing or who they were?
I'd have to refresh my memory with the interviews.
Okay, do you remember anything like that?
Specifically them talking to the CIT officers?
Correct.
I don't remember that.
All right. At some point, was there an officer that I think that you identified yesterday who had a beanbag shotgun?
Objection leading, Your Honor.
Was there an officer who had a beanbag shotgun? I think it's leading us.
That question is not legal.
Right.
There were two, ultimately three.
Okay, and I'm sorry, my question was bad. Before the SWAT team arrived, was there an officer already on scene with this beanbag shotgun?
There were two.
Okay, and which two officers were those?
So in the initial response from the field officers after the open space officers were already there, Sergeant Carpenter and Justin Rogelio deployed up the mountain with their beanbag shotguns. Christopher Wetterland was with them. However, while walking up the hill, Sergeant Carpenter, because he was the supervisor on scene, passed his beanbag off to Christopher Wetterland so he could perform supervisor duties.
Okay, and why do you pass off a device like that when you have another duty to perform?
Because with the sergeant's responsibilities, oftentimes they will have to step back from, say, the negotiation, and they're the ones that will get on the radio to request additional services, like when Sergeant Carpenter requested K-9 over the radio. He may have to get on the phone with radio to make additional requests or get on the phone with other supervisors, so he can't be tied up with the beanbag shotgun.
Okay, and let me identify Carpenter. The jury Carpenter was 25A that you identified yesterday?
That's correct.
And the person you passed off the beanbag shotgun to was Officer Wetterland, who was 28A?
Yes.
And then you said there was somebody else who had a beanbag shotgun up there before the rogue team arrived?
I think those were the only two.
Okay. All right. And so there was a picture that we showed yesterday. Can you pull up the picture up here?
It is. This picture yesterday,
Yes.
can you tell me what kind of weapon that, I think you identified that as Officer Wetterland.
That's 7C4?
7C4, I'm sorry, Judge, 7C4, yes, ma'am. What kind of weapon is he holding in that picture before the rope team arrives?
Yes, so this is Christopher Wetterland, like I described yesterday, and the weapon that he has right there is the less lethal beanbag shotgun.
Okay, and I don't remember, Detective Stone, did we explain how the less lethal beanbag shotgun works?
I don't believe I described that yesterday.
Can you explain to the jury how that particular less lethal weapon works?
So the beanbag shotgun is an actual shotgun. It's not any kind of specialized shotgun different from any other Remington 870 that is issued to a police officer. What's unique about the beanbag shotgun, though, is they take these shotguns and they put markings on them, which is yellow tape, to indicate that they are beanbag shotguns. And the reason for that, and officers are trained in this, is that once those markings are on that shotgun, it no longer serves as an actual shotgun with lethal ammunition. So you're never to ever load it with lethal ammunition ever again. So instead, what you load it with is a shotgun shell that has a yellow beanbag projectile, and it's a circular projectile about this big, and on the attached to it is several mesh stabilizers. So when you actually fire the beanbag shotgun, this projectile, the beanbag itself, will shoot out the barrel, and it will strike whatever target that you are aiming at.
Can you describe when you say it's about this big, how big you're...
A golf ball.
Okay, thanks, Judge. And when they were up here at this point, at some point, did they tell Mr. Boyd, if you cross this line, we're going to shoot you with this beanbag shotgun?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he do in response to that instruction?
You couldn't really see what he does on the video.
Do you know from the statements that they say he didn't cross the line after they said that to him?
Sustained.
What do you know from the statements about his response to that command?
Based on hearsay.
You can answer.
Based on their statements, he never did cross whatever line that they were referring to.
Okay. About 30 minutes before the shooting, did they put out a call for a beanbag shotgun?
Officer Scott Weimer-Skirch realized that they did not have a beanbag with them at that time, so he did request, he says, an impact weapon, and then refers to a beanbag, yes.
Okay. Why is it they didn't know that there were already two beanbag shotguns out there?
Well, again, I don't know why they didn't. I mean, I can only speculate if you want me to answer that.
Oh, no, I don't want you to.
Any speculation, Your Honor?
I don't want him to speculate, Judge. Is part of your training that when you have a scene like this involving multiple officers, what is your training about whether it's important to communicate with each other about what resources are there at the scene?
It's very important to communicate what resources you have and where your people are situated.
Ken, if you are the person making decisions like a sergeant or the person in charge of the scene, what is your responsibility for finding out what resources you have available?
That's one of your main responsibilities like if you're going en route to an initial call, the sergeant will put out over the air, I need someone with a beanbag, I need someone with a taser, I need someone with a 40 millimeter less lethal. So it is, I mean, it's not solely the responsibility of the supervisor. It's kind of the responsibility of all officers to keep that in mind. If there isn't a supervisor around, to say, hey, we don't have a beanbag, and get on the air and say, I need a beanbag.
Okay. And was Officer Wetterland, the fellow with the beanbag, still there?
Everyone was still on scene.
Okay. And rather than have you do this again, can you show the jury just generally where Officer Wetterland had been sent after the rope team came up there?
Yes. So again, I'll direct your attention to this trail right here where Officer Monet was standing. James Boyd's camp was up here. Officer Wetterland was kind of to the south, north and west on the trail by this tree right here.
Okay, and so close enough that if they needed a beanbag shotgun, they could have asked him and he could have brought it up. Is that right?
If they would have asked him.
Okay, thanks. Nina, I don't want to hit you in the head right. Yesterday, where I think we stopped was we were talking about Mr. Boyd's reactions to having the field officers pulled off and being replaced with the tactical team officers from the rope team, and talked about his expressions. I think it's That's where we sort of stopped. Expressions of concern about his own safety. At this point, Judge, I would like to play excerpts from Exhibit 10. If we can have one. And play some of those comments, Judge. That's a 10L, 10N is in Nancy, 10P is in Peter, 10R, and 10T is in Tom. All right. All of these statements were made after the tactical team arrived.
Objection, lead.
Were all these statements by Mr. Boyd made after the tactical team arrived?
The statements that you're about to play?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play L. Well, and let me make sure it's clear. Were they made, how were they made? Are these like all in a row? These were all said at the same time, or were they said at various times during the...
I believe they were said at various times.
Okay, all right. If we can play L, please. Can you go back and think we didn't get the picture on that one. Okay, and you hear on that Mr. Boyd say, APD is standing by to kill me. Is that right?
It's what it sounds like he's saying.
Okay. We can play the next clip, which is N. N as in nest?
Our screen's not working, so I'm going to...
Okay, guys. All right, okay.
Get back to work. Came up here with your guns drawn.
There's, hold on a second. We've got to get it fixed, Judge, because there's something wrong. Can you stop it, Mike? Because we're cutting off, it's like cutting off the middle. Here, just stop it there for a second, Mike. It looks like we're missing, like it's moved over somehow. Can you back this up to the
Yeah.
Or just start over?
Do you want to bring a chair up?
I'm okay right now.
Okay.
Okay, Judge, this is clip 10N as in Nancy.
Get back to work tomorrow. Came up here with your guns drawn. Guns drawn in a goddamn public park. And then, they're like, you know, you can't camp up here. What the fuck is it posted right there? Can't be rules. Can't be rules. Well, there must be camping out here then.
Okay, and this is that's the one that you did before, Mike. And then this is clip number 10P as in Peter.
I'm going to leave, and I'm going to stay here and try to figure out what you need. Get down here and talk to us.
You don't try to stand me down there and talk. If I wanted to come down, I'd do it, but you start shooting at me.
No, we wouldn't.
No grounds for us to get catted up right now. I'm under assault right now. Look at that. Does that look like I'm on a chest? I got a rifle drawn on me. That's an assault. You see me with knives drawn? I'm not assaulting you, man.
Okay, and then this is 10R, Your Honor.
Not a threat to you. You're actually a threat to me somehow. I don't get that. I'm trying to get back to my family. People got rifles on me. That don't make sense to me. It don't make sense.
And then this is 10T as in Tom.
Attack you, man.
Can you back that up, Mike, because you missed the first part?
Hey,
Why are you further attacking me?
nobody's going to attack you,
What
man.
the fuck is that?
Hey, we're just trying to resolve the situation.
Further attacks us. I'm under further assault, further distress. We're in further jeopardy together, although I'm not. You're going to attack me some more.
Nobody wants to attack you. We just want you to come down here.
You know, bring more weapons up here.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay. Now, Detective Stone, it is, because of your description, that this sort of ebbed and flowed, him expressing fear, then threats. It would be...
Attention to the leading form of the question and and testifying on it.
In
I'm going
order...
to overrule that objection
Okay.
because she's bringing him back to an area of testimony from yesterday.
In order to be fair, what you would need to do is have the transcript and see when, during what times he was expressing fear, and then during what times he was threatening. Is that right, sir?
As far as if I'm going to testify to the exact times, yes.
Right. And so we've asked you, we've gotten you the transcripts of the Officer McDaniel's taser footage. McDaniel is the fellow who was the open space officer, is that right?
Yes.
And also the 3 transcripts from Scott Weimerskirch's 3 different tapes. Can you explain to the jury why there were 3 different tapes submitted by Officer Weimerskirch?
So when they upload the video from the officer's devices and it goes up into the cloud, so to speak, when you pull up the actual videos to watch on the server, it's broken up into, I believe, 30-minute segments. So even though the video is continuously running, the files are stored, only have so much storage capacity. So it's not like he turned his camera on and turned it back, or turned it off, turned it back on. It's just broken up into file segments.
Okay, and so let me hand you first Officer McDaniel's, transcript of Officer McDaniel's taser footage, which is 8A. Can you identify that for me, please, sir?
This appears to be the transcript.
And I think this has been stipulated as evidence, Your Honor, 8A.
Any objection to 8A? Yes? No?
Okay. No objection.
Okay, 8A is admitted.
And we asked you to review to see, well, first of all, were the fear statements highlighted in that on yellow?
Yes.
And the threat statements were highlighted in what color?
Blue, I believe.
All right. Did you go through to make sure that the highlighting had been accurate on that statement as to the fear statements and the threat statements?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then also for Officer Weimerskirch's transcript of his camp, 10U, 10B, and 10W, did you do the same thing?
Yes, I did.
And Your Honor, I'll move 10U, 10B, and 10W.
Any objection?
And every threat has been highlighted, because that's not true.
With regard to the characterization of every threat being highlighted, I'll sustain that objection and admit 10U, V as in Victor, and W.
Okay, and so how can the jury use this to see both fear statements and threat statements?
Well, again, it's going to be a transcript of the video when Officer McDaniel was on scene. If you read the entire transcript, you're going to read basically every statement that was picked up by James Boyd, whether it was a fear statement or when he was threatening officers, and that's going to be the same for Officer Weimerskirch.
Okay. Let's go to the bottom of the hill when the rope team and the TAC team arrived, and I think we had a picture of that yesterday. Actually, I think I need to admit a picture of that. Hold on one second. Let me hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 32E4 and State's 7C7. And do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
What is the source of those, of the first photograph, 32A4?
Is it A4 or E4?
E4, I'm sorry, Judge. 32E4. And what's the other? 7C7.
This was, I'm not exactly sure where this photograph came from, but I believe it came from one of the civilians.
Okay, that would be Mr. Thixton, maybe?
I believe so, yes.
And what does 32E4 show?
It's a still photograph from a taser camera.
Okay. And does it, I'm sorry, I'm asking about this one still. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what does it depict in the picture?
It's a picture of Detective Keith Sandy looking through the optics on his rifle, and standing next to him is SWAT Officer McFarland.
Okay, and this other photograph, 7C7, what source did that come from?
It came from a taser camera, and I don't recall whose taser camera it came from.
Okay. If we play the tape, will you be able to tell whose taser camera that came from?
Possibly.
Okay. Your Honor, I move 32E4 and 7C7 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, if we can turn-
7C7 and 32E4 are admitted without objection.
Okay, if we can do the overhead again, Judge. And just so the jury, when they get these photographs, can figure out what photograph came from which, this one is sort of gold colored and this one is sort of blue colored. What will that tell them about what the source is of the particular photos they see?
To me, when you're taking a still photograph of the taser footage from the actual officer's lapel video, it's of not great quality, poor quality as when Mr. Thixton was taking higher quality photos.
Okay. So the gold ones are, and the higher quality ones are from Mr. Thixton's camera?
Yes.
And you were talking to the jury about who is depicted in 32E4 down at the bottom of the hill. Can you point out for them what you orally testified about?
Yes. This is Detective Keith Sandy looking through the scope of his rifle, and this is SWAT Officer Jeff McFarland standing to his right.
Okay. And this is after he's traded given his taser cam over to Detective Ingram and has taken up his rifle. Is that right?
His taser shotgun to Detective Ingram.
Okay. This is what he's holding. Is that a taser shotgun that he's holding in that picture?
Leading, Your Honor.
What is he holding in that picture?
His rifle.
Is it a taser shotgun?
No, it's not.
Okay. Let me show you State's Exhibit 7, and this is from a taser cam. And so where would the person be who's taking this photograph?
So the person is standing right there.
Okay, so can you show me where the person is, like draw a little person where the person is standing?
That has the lapel camera on?
Yes, sir.
Well, they're kind of standing behind them, so it's kind of hard to explain. The image is coming from their collar.
Coming from the collar of the officer who has the taser camera.
Yes.
They're not leading. Thank you.
Where is the person who is taking this?
They're standing right behind where the video is being taken.
Who is depicted in this video footage?
This is going to be Detective Keith Sandy, and this is going to be Acting Sergeant Rank Ingram. And the more I look at it, I'm pretty sure this is coming from Canine Officer Scott Weimerskirch's video.
Okay. Who was gathered at the bottom of the hill there? What officers were gathered at the bottom of the hill there?
Again, Keith Sandy, Rick Ingram, Officer Weimerskirch, Jeff McFarland, for a time, Kenneth Ronzone, and for a time, Officer Patrick Hernandez.
Did they have any discussions at the bottom of the hill about a plan that they were going to come up with?
Sorry, I think Jeff, because our screen isn't working again.
They need a minute to come up because I guess it's because of the heat and the cold, it's expanding and contracting, and they need to get some room in there. So they need to kind of do a little bit of work on it.
Okay. So that we don't have to take a recess, do you mind just taking the positions you had previously so that you and your client can view the screen?
Can I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a discussion among these three people at the bottom of the hill that are depicted in this video about a plan?
Yes.
And did you also, when you were taking Defendant Sandy's statement, did you ask him or talk to him about who came up with the plan?
I believe so.
And what did he say about who came up with the plan?
I'd have to refer to the statement.
Okay.
If I'm going to be talking from it.
19, lines 23.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection about who he said came up with the plan?
Yes.
What did he say?
In a statement, he said we came up with the plan.
Okay. And by we, who was he talking about?
Canine Officer Weimer Skirch and Acting Sergeant Rick Ingram. And he.
And him. Okay. You have also reviewed clips of this tape from Canine Officer Weimer Skirch, have you not, sir?
Yes.
And what I'd like to do, have you listened to the tapes and compared the transcript on the tapes with the tapes themselves?
Yes.
And is the transcript on the tape accurate with the tapes themselves?
They appear to be.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to play, and let me get the exhibit number 10I, if I could.
Any objection to 10I?
See where the path comes up. If you get up to, see the big boulder in front of you? If I get up to there, I can get him with the dog. See where the path comes up there? The biggest thing with the taser shotgun, if it doesn't work, you just put a jellyfish on him, and the dog's out of play.
Okay, and who is turning around, who is depicted whose head was turning around in that particular video?
Detective Keith Sandy.
Can you explain to the jury what a jellyfish is and what that conversation was about?
It was about if the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Proceed. I thought you said be seated. I was looking for my chair and realized Mr. Sieber's hand.
Sorry, I
I'm sorry.
will try to speak up.
Oh, that's
May
right.
proceed.
I'm sorry, Judge. Okay. Can you explain what that conversation was about and what a jellyfish is?
It was if they utilized the taser shotgun and the probe or the projectile hit Mr. Boyd but did not affect him, if the dog was to go up and touch the probe, the dog would not bite Mr. Boyd, is what Officer Scott Weimer-Skirch was referring to.
Okay, and the people who were there for that conversation, so it's kind of comparing, who were the other two people who were in on that conversation from the person with the taser cam?
The other two people were Detective Keith Sandy and Acting Sergeant Rick Ingram, who had the taser shotgun.
So that is Exhibit 32A and Exhibit 33A.
Yes.
And they were all within hearing distance to hear at 7:06 to hear that conversation.
Objection leading.
I'll rephrase, Judge. Were they all within earshot?
They appeared to be, yes.
Okay. And then was there another conversation at 7:16 p.m. between these three?
Yes.
And you reviewed that conversation that was captured on the taser cam tape?
Objection leading.
Foundation.
Let me have counsel approve.
Foundation for that one, Judge. Although I've forgotten it too at this point, Judge. So let me gather myself again. Have you reviewed this clip as well, sir?
Yes.
And have you reviewed it with the transcript that was prepared of the clip?
Yes.
And is it a fair and accurate transcript of what is actually said on this clip from Canine Officer Weimer-Skirch's taser cam?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I would play 7J. Any objection?
Yeah, any objection to 7J?
No, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Judge, it's 10J.
10J.
It's at 7:16, but it's 10J.
Any objection to 10J? No objection? 10J is admitted.
I don't think we really have much.
Can you back that up?
Nothing dynamic taking place. I don't think we really have much. The only go we have is if that expert works, but if it doesn't work, we put it in our hand. We got more tools coming at this point. So, if they get here.
Okay, can you explain what's heard on that particular tape?
Again, it's Officer Weimer-Skirch talking about a plan. He brings up, you'll notice, though, he uses the word XREP. He's referring to the taser shotgun. And again, he's expressing concern that if it doesn't work, then the options may be more limited.
And there's somebody on the tape who said, "We can do it."
That's what it sounds like, yes.
All right. And can you identify who that voice is?
It sounded,
To the extent that it calls for speculation, it sounds like it's about speculation.
It asks the state to lay a foundation.
Sure. How many times did you interview Defendant Sandy?
twice.
How long was the first interview?
It was over an hour.
And had you heard his voice in a professional setting when you worked with him or around him?
Yes.
What did you do to try to identify whether this was Defendant Sandy's voice on the tape?
I just listened to it
Okay, and how many times did you listen to it?
quite a few times.
Okay. Did you make an effort to try to be sure before you came in and testified whether this was Defendant Sandy's voice?
Yes.
Okay. And did you do anything else other than listen to this tape to try to determine whether it was Defendant Sandy's voice?
I tried to listen to Acting Sergeant Rick Ingram's audio recording.
Right. And can you explain how that was being made?
He had a digital recorder on his body that was recording the incident.
And so in this picture, can you show me where Rick Ingram is and where his tape would have been?
And what exhibit number?
This is exhibit, I'm sorry, Judge, 7C7.
He had his recorder on in front of him, standing next to Detective Sandy.
Okay. And why did you listen to this tape in addition to listening to the tape of this person here?
Because it was closer, so I was seeing if I could hear it clearer.
On these tapes, whose voice do you hear the best?
You can usually hear it better on the audio, except on this time, you could only hear it really well on the taser camera.
Okay. And I think my question again was not very good. When you were listening, when somebody has the camera on them and you're hearing a voice, whose voice is the loudest typically with whatever taser camera video you're listening to or camera that you're listening to?
Whoever's the person that's wearing it.
All right.
Their voice is the clearest.
Okay, so why did you listen to Detective Ingram's audio as well? The audio from him?
Because he was closer to Detective Sandy.
Okay, and were you able to hear him say something that you can't hear on the Weimerskirch tape?
Are you talking about the Acting Sergeant Rick Ingram?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What did he say?
He said, I believe he said, uh-huh.
All right, and where was that uh-huh placed in the conversation that we just heard on the tape?
Right after when Officer Scott Weimerskirch talks about the X-Rep and all that.
What does that tell you about whether the statement, "we can do it," was made by Weimerskirch, Sandy, or Ingram?
Well, based on that, that's why I believed it was Detective Sandy that said it.
Okay. And did his voice on the saying "we can do it" sound similar to the voice of the man who you interviewed for an hour?
It did.
Okay. Now, at the end of that conversation, what was the last statement in that conversation?
The last statement, I'm sorry, which part of it? I'm getting kind of confused now.
Could we replay, would it refresh your recollection to replay that statement?
Sure.
Okay.
Tape. I don't think we really have much point. Works, but it doesn't work, we put our hand. We got more tools coming at this point. So, nothing new here.
Okay. I want to ask you actually about both ends. At the beginning, he says nothing dynamic is taking place. What is that in reference to?
Judge, there's also clarification of who's saying that. That's what I just thought.
Can you tell the jury who the loud voice is on that taser cam?
K-9 Officer Scott Weimerskirch.
Okay. What does that mean that nothing dynamic is taking place?
As to that particular statement, I don't know what he's meaning by that.
Okay. And then at the end, he talks about less lethal, in response to the "we can do it" comment. He says, we've got less lethal options coming. Let's see what's coming up, something like that. What is your understanding of what the plan was at that particular point?
Judge, to the extent it's calling for speculation, Your Honor. It's witness should speculate.
Can I ask a question that is not speculation?
Okay. Go ahead, Detective Stone.
Again, From that statement, I really didn't hear any type of plan being formulated. I mean, they're talking about options, but as far as a plan, there was none.
Okay. After this conversation at 7:16, who arrived at 7:20?
I believe at 7:20 it was Sergeant Jim Fox that got there.
Okay. And did he arrive with any other SWAT officers?
Eventually, Officer Ramon Ornelas, who was the SWAT team leader, showed up. And then at some point around that time, 7:20, around there, SWAT Officer Dominique Perez.
Let me hand you a mark this. State's Exhibit 41A. Can you identify that, please?
Yes, this is SWAT Sergeant Jim Fox, and it's a frontal view of him being taken in the crime van.
Okay. And what is 40A?
40A is going to be a frontal picture in the crime van of SWAT team leader Ramon Ornelas.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd move 40A and 41A into evidence.
Let me just clarify. So 41A is Sergeant Fox.
Yes, sir.
Any objection to 41A and 40A?
No objection.
No objection.
40A and 41A are in.
Okay. And if we can switch this back on again, Judge, for the... And who is that in 41A, Detective Stone?
SWAT Sergeant Jim Fox.
Okay. And in 40A, who is that?
SWAT team leader Ramon Ornelas.
And did these three officers, these two officers arrive at approximately the same time as defendant?
Approximately.
Okay. And, Your Honor, I think we've already admitted into evidence the picture of Defendant Perez, which is 37A.
It has been.
And what time, if you can, I think we already talked about it, let me just put this. You've talked about it a little earlier in your testimony, but what would have been the standard protocol at the time that SWAT Sergeant Fox arrived at the scene?
Okay, I'm sorry. I kind of got distracted with the paper being moved here. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. You talked about it a little bit about what happens when SWAT shows up. Can you talk about what the officers at the scene would understand the protocol was when SWAT Sergeant Fox showed up?
Well, when he shows up on scene, what's generally known from the field officers is that the tactical officers and the tactical sergeant are going to start assuming responsibility for the scene. Now, it's important to know that that doesn't happen immediately. I mean, as soon as he's on scene, he's in charge. It's a process, but that will begin to start happening.
All right. Did you then take statements from Defendant Sandy about the shooting itself?
Yes.
Did you ask him what it looked like to him right before he shot Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Did he give you an answer to what? Well, let me back up just a little bit. Did you speak to him about what it looked like to him when Mr. Boyd pulled his knives out?
I'm sorry, who was he referring to?
Defendant Sandy.
Yes.
And did he give you a statement about what it looked like to him when Mr. Boyd pulled his knives out in response?
He did give me a statement.
Okay. And how did he describe the motion of Mr. Boyd in that statement?
Again, I'd like to refer to the statement.
Okay. And actually, Judge, I think we could come up and what might be other stuff, maybe. Your Honor,
We'll stipulate to the entire statement of Keith Sandy coming into evidence so that everybody can see it.
Your Honor, and that's a speaking objection. Can we approach the bench on that, please?
Let me hand you this statement back, and page 25, lines 22 to 24. Can you refresh your recollection on what Lieutenant Sandy told you about how he perceived this action of pulling the knives out of his pockets?
Okay.
And has that refreshed your recollection?
Yes.
What line were you looking for?
22 to 24.
What did Defendant Sandy tell you about how he interpreted that movement by Mr. Boyd?
In his statement, he said he took a defensive posture.
Okay, and what does a defensive posture mean to you?
Means that you're standing in a way, getting ready to fight someone.
Okay, and what is offensive posture?
Kind of the same thing, just getting ready to fight with somebody.
Okay, and what you talked yesterday about show of force versus use of force that police officers have, and what did you say about when a police officer is pointing his gun at the ground? What is that called?
It's a low ready.
But as far as a show of force versus a use of force, what did you say that was?
It's a show of force.
Okay, and then you said even if the police officer points his gun at you, what is that?
That's a show of force.
Okay. Is a defensive posture similar to a show of force?
I believe so.
Okay. How many times had Mr. Boyd, based on your investigation, pulled out his knives in that same position over the course of the 2 hours and 45-minute encounter with APD?
Several times.
Okay. What things would prompt him to do that, to pull out his knives like that?
The majority of the times it was when the discussion about him relinquishing the knives from his actual body, not just putting them in his pockets. When the request would come to take the knives out of his pockets and put them on the ground away from his person, whenever that discussion would come up from any officer, is when he would become very irate and he would pull them out and speak about killing them.
Okay. Was it the same kind of motion each time?
It's hard. I never actually saw the video, but from what the officers described, yes.
Okay. And what would happen when they, he didn't keep them out the whole, well, let me ask you, what would he eventually put them away?
In his pockets, with the blade still out, yes.
And is this thing, as far as what happened with the open space officers at the beginning when you interviewed them, what did they tell you about whether he pulled the knives out in the same way when they dealt with him?
He did it the same exact way.
Okay. When they moved back, and we showed that picture yesterday, what did Mr. Boyd do when they moved back away from him?
He started rambling on about incoherent things, and at times would, again, with the blades out, put the knives in his pockets.
Did he chase after them?
No. Well, I mean, he had advanced on him a little bit, but then he would back off.
Okay. Did he ever try to slash at them with a knife or do anything like that?
No.
Careful about the phone question.
Okay, Judge. Did you ask Defendant Sandy what he saw right before he shot Mr. Boyd?
Yes.
Okay, let me find that for you. Do you recall what he said, sir?
I'd have to refresh my memory.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to review page 26, lines 11 through 25, please, first.
You said lines 11 through 25?
Yes, sir. What's designated there, clip 8?
And you want me to try and recite this whole thing from memory, or what would you like me to do?
I'm going to ask you to say what he saw right before he shot him, what motion Mr. Boyd made right before he shot him.
Read it to yourself in the letter of evidence.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the question is, what did he tell you he saw right before he fired the first shot?
He said he saw James Boyd square off with them, and then he started to turn left in order to flank them, and as he was turning to the left is when he fired.
Okay. And then, does he say that he fired a second shot?
Yes.
And then what did he say he saw right before he fired the third shot?
If I could refresh my memory again.
Sure.
You said right before he fired the third shot?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Said he was still standing.
Still standing, and is that why he fired the third shot? Is that what he said to you?
He said he was still standing and he fired the third shot.
Okay. Just for a second. Where did he say that he aimed his bullet?
I'm going to have to refresh my memory. Okay. Held center mass.
I think you explained that to the jury yesterday about where center mass is. Would a person firing at center mass, well, let me ask another question. What kind of rifle was Defendant Sandy using?
223.
And how would you describe that rifle as far as the power of the 223?
The power of it, I guess I'm not understanding the question.
I was thinking high-powered versus low-powered rifles. Maybe there isn't a low-powered rifle.
I'm just going to object to this point. He testified yesterday he was not a firearms expert. And the question, power of a rifle, is pretty vague, Your Honor.
If the witness has the knowledge, we can describe the kind of rifle.
I think he did that, Your Honor.
If you can give what you can, then it's different.
What
If he has the knowledge.
Go ahead, Detective Stone.
It is considered a high-powered rifle. That is correct.
And what does that mean, high-powered rifle?
It's just a higher caliber rifle. The bullet will travel a longer distance and more accurately than, say, like a pistol round.
And what kind of bullets were in Mr. Sandy's gun?
223.
And were they the soft point bullets that you talked about?
Yes.
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor, yesterday.
Would a person
I'm going to allow that question. I don't think it's that.
would a person firing a 223 rifle at center mass with soft point bullets understand that doing that had a risk of death or great bodily harm to the person they were aiming at?
Well, yes, that is, yes.
And was this did you try to determine in your statement whether this was an accidental shooting or a mistake, or it was done intentionally?
I didn't uncover any evidence that this was an accident or unintentional.
Okay. And did you actually, in Defendant Sandy's statement, did he make a statement that this was intentional?
I don't know if he used those words, but I have to refresh my memory.
Let me hand this to you again. It's on the same page. This is 26, lines 5 through 7. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And what did he say about whether he made a decision to shoot Mr. Boyd?
He said he made the decision to shoot.
And that, in investigating a homicide, indicates what as far as a person's intent?
His intent was to shoot James Boyd.
Okay. Hey, Judge, we're at a good stopping place. If you want to break, or do you want me to continue on?
I want to remind you, courts 8 and 9. I'm not sure those are addressed.
What? I'm sorry, Judge.
Courts 8 and 9 questions.
Oh, we're not done with him. I'm going to get to it when we get to the part about Mr. Boyd, if this is a good time to break. I can do that, Judge. Okay, I was thinking it was later than it was. I'm sorry, Judge. In either of the statements, either in March or April, first of all, did you give Mr. Boyd the chance to say anything he wanted to say to you during those statements?
Mr. Boyd was dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. I'm sorry, Detective Stone. Did you give Defendant Sandy the chance to say anything he wanted to say to you during those times?
Yes.
Okay. Did he ever tell you in either of those two statements about going to church before he came to out to the foothills?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Never mentioned that?
I don't know.
All right. Let's go to March 16th, 2014. Okay. Can you explain to the jury what the term squaring off, what you understood Mr. Defendant Sandy to be saying when he said he squared off to him?
Squared off like face to face, not running away, not turning around, but squaring off like if you've seen a boxing match when two boxers are about to go at it, they square off on each other. That's how he explained it, and that's how I took it.
Okay, he didn't say that, you just demonstrated with his hands up like he was going to punch. Did he demonstrate that for you?
Objection, lady. And testifying before the question.
Oh, I don't think so, Judge. Yeah, thanks. That's not something, is that what Defendant Sandy showed you, that he put his hands up in a fist like this?
I don't believe that's what he showed me, but I was asked me to explain what squared off, so I was explaining squared off.
Okay. What is the best evidence of what Mr. Boyd did before the shooting happened?
I'm going to object, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. Is there a video of what happened right before Mr. Boyd was shot?
There's a video.
Okay. And then what did you understand Defendant Sandy to be saying when he said that he turned to his left, and what did you say? Thought he was flanking?
Yeah, so the term flanking is kind of came from a military term, so I have a military background. It's when you don't want to come at someone straight on, you can either move to the right and try to come at them from the right or come at them from the left. Like in an attacking position. So you would flank from the right and try to get them on their right side, or flank to the left, try to get them on their left side, or try to, flank all the way around to the rear. So that's what flank means.
Okay. And did you ask Defendant Sandy to explain what he meant by flanking?
No.
Defendant Sandy was he in the military?
I don't know if he was or not.
Okay. Let's go to March 16th, 2014, when you got called out to the scene.
Okay.
Did you know anything about what was happening with Mr. Boyd before you were called out to the scene after the shooting?
No.
How did you get called out to the scene?
I was called by radio control since I was the on-call homicide detective, and I was advised of the officer-involved shooting.
At the time you arrived, where was Mr. Boyd?
Mr. Boyd had already been transported to the hospital.
Had he died yet by the time you got to the scene?
No.
So can you take the jury through what you did when you arrived at the scene to try to preserve evidence and start directing people to preserve evidence at the scene?
Sure. So when I arrive on scene, I try to seek out whoever the primary officer or whoever the on-scene supervisor is, just to kind of get a sense of what's going on. When I arrived at Pedro Vista, I saw that some open space vehicles were up on that main trail that we have been talking about at west of U Mound, and had their lights oriented up near where James Boyd's camp was. So to me, that was an indicator that whatever was going on had happened up there. So the next thing I did was, once my assisting investigators started arriving, because this is a team effort, with evidence collection, witness interviews, neighborhood canvassing. I can't, and search warrants need to be issued if there's arrest warrants that need to be issued. I can't do all that on my own, so I have assisting detectives that will come out. The best way to get everybody on the same page is we have what we call a primary briefing. And that consists of myself, my secondary homicide investigator, several other investigators from violent crimes, would be the robbery unit, the sex crimes unit, the domestic violence unit, so on and so forth, missing persons, and a member from the district attorney's office. If there is a death that has occurred, someone from the office of the medical investigator, as well as the violent crime supervisor. And we all get together in the briefing van, and once we're ready to brief, we bring in one of the primary officer who did the initial investigation, and he tells us what occurred, what they responded to, kind of what happened, and what they found out throughout their investigation until we arrived on scene.
Okay. Who was present at the initial briefing at the scene of the shooting?
Again, all of my investigators were there. Deputy Assistant District Attorney Debbie DiPaolo was present. Police Chief Gordon Eden was present. There was a whole slew of other investigators that were present. I don't have all their names off the top of my head.
Okay, who conducted the initial briefing?
As far as who briefed us?
Yes, sir.
Two people briefed us initially. The first one was Sergeant Jason Carpenter, who was the on-scene supervisor, and he's the one that kind of gave us the layout of what happened, the initial response from the open space officers, their response, and then kind of the response of the rope team and the tactical units thereafter. And he gave us just kind of a general brief description of where everybody was standing at the different times that was going on. And then after he gave us the briefing, K-9 officer Scott Weimerskirch came in and briefed up the portion kind of leading up to the shooting.
Okay, is that unusual that a witness or someone who was involved in a shooting would give the briefing to the officers conducting the investigation?
Yeah, so that's kind of my fault. I did not realize that K-9 officer Scott Weimerskirch was so intimately involved in the shooting. That is not a common practice of mine. If a witness officer or someone who is involved in the apprehension that resulted in the shooting, I typically will not use them as the person to brief me there right at that time. However, I did not realize until after he briefed me just how involved he was. So it is not customary for me to do that.
Okay, why is that not a good police investigative practice, to have a person involved in the shooting be the one that briefs you on what happened?
Well, again, because he's a witness and because he was a part of it, it's better to actually sit them down and have a formal recorded interview with them where he can provide a statement, questions can be asked, he can answer those questions, and it gives me time to think about what I need to ask him and things of that nature, instead of him coming and just kind of talking about it in an open forum. I mean, it's not something that should be done, even not in an officer-involved shooting, just in a regular citizen homicide investigation.
You'd never allow a citizen involved in a shooting or a witness to the shooting to debrief you on what happened, would you?
Right.
Would you ever allow a civilian to ever do that in a similar situation?
Well, the purpose of the briefing is to give a law enforcement account of the investigation that has happened after the incident occurred to when I show up. So the briefing is supposed to be about the initial investigation. It's not supposed to be a witness interview. So again, not knowing that K-9 Officer Scott Weimerskirch was so involved, I shouldn't have had him brief me as to an investigation when he was a witness.
Where were Defendants Sandy and Perez during the briefing to everybody at the scene?
They were in two different vehicles.
And I think we've already established no one took their statements before they left the scene.
Objection needed, Your Honor. And asked and answered.
Were their statements taken before they left the scene, Detective Stone?
No.
What processing was done of them at the scene?
So again, the criminalistics detectives will bring in each officer at a time and will take photographs just like I had explained, and they will go over what equipment they have on them and go over their firearms.
What time were they allowed to leave?
They were allowed to leave. I don't exactly know when they left because I was conducting my investigation, but I believe they left sometime after they were processed.
Can you give an estimate of time?
No, I can't.
What time did the shooting take place?
Shooting took place right around 7:30.
Does that help refresh your recollection about how many hours later the shooters were allowed to leave?
It was 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. What time did you find out that Mr. Boyd had died?
Probably around that same time, 3 or 4 hours later.
In your initial briefing, did you learn about the different 3 or 4 different waves of officers who had arrived? Were you given that overview?
Yes.
Okay. And let me hand you what's marked as States 20. Did you, in your notes do sort of a summary of when people arrive as well to help yourself keep track of this?
Yes.
Let me hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 20, 20B, which is not something that you created, but
No.
have you reviewed that summary to determine whether the arrival times are correct for the various waves of officers?
Yes, yes.
And in that particular summary, does it tell you who arrived during what particular groups, what particular time periods?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move 20B into evidence.
Objection, Your Honor, can we approach?
The jury knows what we're talking about up there. 20B, can you describe for them what 20B shows?
So on the left-hand column, you have what's labeled arrival times, and it's in military times, so
Hey, can you tell everybody how we figure out what layperson time is with military time?
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Okay.
So 1641 to 1648, that's going to be 4:41 p.m. to 4:48 p.m. And it's showing the arrival of the two open space officers, John McDaniel and Patrick Hernandez. The next column, 1705 to 1726, that's going to be 5:05 p.m. and 5:26 p.m. And you're going to see the arrival times within that span of time. Officer Monet, Niprath, Virgilio, Chris Ware, and Wetterland, and Jason Carpenter. And then sometime within that is when State PD Officer Mitch Bankston arrives. And I'm sorry, I don't know if I said Sergeant Chris Ware from State Police. And in the next section, 1752 hours to 1835 hours, that's going to be 5:52 to 6:35 p.m. And you're going to have detectives Keith Sandy, K-9 Officer Scott Weimer-Skirch, Rick Ingram, I don't know why that says.
That should be an R rather than a...
Yeah, so this is going to be Rick Ingram.
Let me change that to an R on here. Okay.
SWAT Officer Jeff McFarland, K-9 Officer Kenneth Ronzone, SWAT Sniper Jim Perdue, and SWAT Officer Anthony Sedler.
Okay.
And then in the last column here, the three SWAT team members that came kind of at the very, right before the scene came to a conclusion, 1911 hours to 1929 hours, which was 7:11 to 7:29 p.m. You have SWAT officers Ramon Ornelas, Dominic Perez, and SWAT Sergeant Jim Fox.
Okay. Were all of these officers still there at the time of the shooting? All 19 of them?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also, after all the evidence was gathered by all the people under, well, let me ask, were you the person in charge of this investigation at the time?
Yes, I'm the lead investigator overseas and is ultimately responsible for the outcome of the investigation.
After you gathered all this information, did you create a summary of the officers and all the different kinds of equipment that they had out there at the scene?
As far as the equipment they had on them, I didn't create a summary, no.
All right, did you review a summary that had
Yes.
everything created of all of the equipment that they had to make sure that it was accurate and accurately reflected all the guns they had?
Yes.
All the ammo they had?
Yes.
And all the non-lethal devices that they had?
Yes.
Let me hand you what's marked as States 22. Can you tell the jury what that is, please?
Yeah, this seems to be a graph of the equipment that they had on them. This came from the criminalistics report. I had reviewed this in the past. I mean, it does appear accurate.
Okay. And you also had access to the photographs to be able to see the photographs of the actual weapons and how much ammunition there actually was for each particular gun. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I would move, I'm sorry, Detective Stone, can you tell me what the exhibit number is, please?
22.
22 into evidence.
Objection, can we approach, Your Honor?
I think we talked talked a little bit earlier about how you figured out where everybody was at the time of the shooting. Did you create, or do you have a diagram that helps you determine where everybody was at the time of the shooting so that you can get up and explain to the jury where all these officers were at the time of the shooting?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 17, and does this fairly and accurately depict the locations of the officers at the time of the shooting?
Yes, it does.
Okay, Your Honor, I would move States 17 and would ask permission to be able to come up to the jury and show everybody where everyone was.
Any objection to 17?
I don't have an objection, it's just the names.
That's correct.
I don't have an objection.
No objection.
17 is admitted.
I will be your Vanna White, if that's all right with you. And you can take, why don't you start with where, on this diagram, where Mr. Boyd was?
So again, James Boyd's camp up in the foothills would be this area. He was standing approximately up in this area.
And can we start with where, let's start from the top of our pictures of officers. And if you can show the jury where the open space officers were at the time of the shooting.
Yes, so Officer McDaniel and Officer Hernandez, if you look at the diagram here, they had moved down to where these two trails, main trails, intersect down here.
All right. And then if you'll go through one by one, the field officers that were sort of in the second wave of people that arrived.
Sure, you have Sergeant J.C. Carpenter, who's down here by where this tree I keep talking about, which is kind of mainly west of James Boyd's camp. The next officer right here is going to be Christopher Wetterland. He's going to be north along this trail over by this tree that I had marked earlier, which is going to be kind of north and west of James Boyd's camp. Going to Officer Justin Rogelio.
And let me stop you just for a second. Wetterland, is he the one with the beanbag shotgun?
Yes, he had a beanbag shotgun.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so going to Officer Rogelio, who also had a beanbag shotgun with him earlier during the encounter with James Boyd. He had actually been repositioned to kind of an eastern perimeter position up here. So this is actually going to be a higher elevated area, and they're going to be looking down in the area from James Boyd's camp. The next officer we're going to talk about, the CIT officer, McCall Monet, here, who has the rifle. McCall had been moved again west of the camp down where Jason Carpenter was near this tree.
Okay, and from that position, it would have been difficult for him to talk to Mr. Boyd from that position?
Yes. Then you're going to Officer Brock Nickrath. Brock Nickrath was moved to a northern perimeter position with the other K-9 unit, and he was approximately standing over in this area right here.
And that's the second CIT officer?
Yes.
All right.
Then you're going to have the two state PD law enforcement officers. You've got Sergeant Christopher Ware, and then you have Officer Mitch Bankston. Christopher Ware was going to be down here with Jason Carpenter, and Mitch Bankston was going to be up here with the other K-9 team in the northern perimeter part of north of James Boyd's camp. We'll talk about the SWAT sniper real quick, who is Jim Purdue.
Who's sideways, yes, but go ahead.
Yes, for those with he has the sniper rifle right here. Again, he had taken up a position south of the camp. So again, here's where James Boyd is at. The camp is over here, and he's going to be mainly south, maybe just a little bit west, kind of at a relatively same type of elevation as the camp, give or take. So he's over here somewhere in his little, what we call his position. Now we're going to go to
rope and K9 team.
Yes. So Detective Sandy. Detective Sandy is going to be up in the camp area right near where James Boyd's at. Detective Rick Ingram, again, is going to be in the same area. He's kind of back a little bit from Keith Sandy and Scott Weimerskirch, but he's in the area where James Boyd is at during the shooting. Scott Weimerskirch, he's going to be up at the camp right near James Boyd.
And he has a dog with him?
He does.
Okay. So does he have a dog with him?
Yes, he has his police service dog with him, who is around James Boyd and around him during the time of the shooting itself. K-9 officer Kenneth Ronzone, he has the northern perimeter with his K-9 police service dog, and he's there kind of for northern containment. And what I mean by containment is if James Boyd was to move north, then they would be the containment team to keep him from, say, breaking out of the perimeter and going up in the foothills or going down to the neighborhood. So that's where he's at. You have Jeff McFarland, the SWAT officer Jeff McFarland, and he is with Officer Rogelio up in the kind of the eastern containment perimeter part of this perimeter. And then you have SWAT officer Anthony Sedler, who is in the northern perimeter containment team with K-9 officer Kenneth Ronzone.
Okay, and then down on the bottom, where is everybody?
So you're going to have Sergeant Jim Fox, who is actually in the backyard of Alexander Thixton's residence. You can't see it here, but there's actually a gate in Alexander Thixton's backyard that gives you access to the open space area. And that's initially where these officers had, when they first arrived at the scene upon the request of the open space officers, they actually went through Alexander Thixton's backyard and entered through that gate. So that is where Jim Fox is at the time of the shooting.
Okay.
And then you have SWAT team leader Ramon Ornelas. He was actually in the same area Jim Fox. I don't know if he was standing with Fox or he was going to get some equipment because he was going to be on his way up to the area when the shooting went down.
What equipment was he getting?
He was getting a feedback shotgun.
Why was he getting a feedback shotgun?
At the request of K-9 officer Scott Weimerskirch that he needed a feedback shotgun up to their position.
And then Defendant Don Perez.
Yes, so lastly, SWAT officer Dominic Perez is actually going to be west of the camp and west of this team at a lower elevation. So he's not actually right up with the team because he arrives moments before Scott Weimerskirch, Keith Sandy, and Rick Ingram put their arrest into action when they actually go and try to apprehend James Boyd. So he actually never makes it up to their position prior to them going to the arrest.
Thank you. Thanks, Don. Did you collect, after the shooting, the firearms that were used in the shooting?
I did not personally collect them. They were collected by the criminalistics detectives.
Can you explain to the jury how that works and why you collect them that night?
So the reason for the collection of the firearms that were used in the shooting is because they need to be examined for, go through a ballistic firearms examination, because what we want to do is as a law enforcement entity, have the capability of doing test fires of that gun after a shooting, and an examiner will do his or her examination and be able to tell if the projectile is of sufficient quality, which bullet or which casing came from which gun.
Okay. Were there any bullets recovered from the shots that were fired?
Yes.
How many bullets were recovered?
There were one intact bullet was recovered from James Boyd's body at autopsy, and then there was, I believe, a fragment piece.
Were they able, how big was the fragment piece?
Very small, maybe a quarter of an inch.
Okay. Was that fragment big enough to be able to test it to figure out whose gun it came from?
No.
Right. How about the bullet from James Boyd's body?
Yes, it was.
Where was it taken out of James Boyd's body at autopsy?
His left deltoid, I believe it was.
All right. And how does that bullet get into police custody?
So at autopsy, when a deceased person is brought to the Office of the Medical Investigator, a full autopsy will be performed. And it's during that autopsy that if any projectiles or bullets are recovered, they will be collected as evidence at the Office of the Medical Investigator, along with any other forensic evidence that may or may not be important to the case. In which time the criminalistics detective, which in this case was Detective Nathan Render, it is his responsibility to go to the Office of the Medical Investigator, and all of that ballistic evidence, or all of that forensic evidence, to include the bullet that came out of James Boyd, would be transferred into his custody and brought back to the crime lab for further analysis.
Right. Can you explain to the jury what chain of custody is?
So anytime that you're dealing with evidence, you have to be able to explain from the time that the evidence was picked up off the ground where officers found it to by the time it gets here in court. You need to be able to explain its path of travel, and it needs to be documented. So a chain of custody is from the time that it's picked up to where it then goes, which would be the crime lab or OMI, and that needs to be documented. And if it changes from hands from one person to another, that needs to be documented. So that way there's no fear of tampering with the evidence or any question of tampering.
How do you keep track of that to make sure that that's where whatever the piece of evidence is went?
We have what's called the Albuquerque Police Department chain of custody form. So whenever evidence is transferred from one person to another, it will be annotated on this report. And there are other agencies that have their own various styles of chain of custody if it's going to another entity outside the Albuquerque Police Department.
How were the two rifles handled? Let's start with Defendant Pettis' rifle.
So the process is, after the pictures were taken that you see, it is then transferred from the crime van at the scene, and it goes back to the crime lab where it is tagged into evidence, and there it will stay until the firearms examiner is ready to perform his analysis.
All right, and why do you take the gun into custody to perform a firearm analysis and keep it in custody until you do that?
The reason we keep it in our custody is if we were to say give the firearm back to the person who would use it, there may be a chance of tampering, changing out of barrels or whatever, or just simply destruction of it, and then you would no longer be able to use it as evidence. So we don't want, obviously, that to happen, so that is why we take custody of the evidence, and we don't relinquish custody of it until we're done with the examinations, or we're done with it.
Okay, and did you take custody of the rifle that's depicted in the picture of Don Pettis?
I didn't personally take custody of it, but it was collected that night by criminalistics.
Okay, and that was at your direction?
Yes, I mean, it is.
Was that at your direction, Mr. Stone?
Yes, I mean, it's because these criminalistic detectives are very good at their job. They don't need to come to me and ask what the next step is. They know what steps they need to take. So it's not like I have to tell them each, hey, take that, take that, take that. They know what they need to collect. And then they come back to me and they kind of tell me, what they've collected. And if I think that there's other things that need to be collected, I will at that time say, well, why don't we collect this? Why don't we collect that? That way I know that I have everything that I need for my investigation.
What kind of rifle did Defendant Pettis have?
He had a Noveski style .223 rifle.
All right. And was a rifle collected from Defendant Sandy as well?
Yes.
What kind of rifle did Defendant Sandy have?
I forget exactly the make and model. That I have to refer to the report.
Okay. Do you have that there with you?
I don't know if it's in this series of reports right here. I can take a look at it.
Okay. Be allowed to leave, I could make this faster. Here, just the name of the title of the gun, Judge. See if that refreshes his recollection about the name of the gun. To save time for the jury.
Okay, I got it.
All right, never mind. Okay, good. All right. Well, what kind of gun did Defendant Pettis have?
Pettis or Sandy?
I'm sorry, Defendant Sandy have.
It was a JP Enterprises 223 rifle.
And was that taken into evidence as well?
Yes, it was.
And how long did you keep those two guns in evidence?
They were held in evidence until after the examination by firearms examiner Jay Stewart was complete.
And why do you take the guns and what do you use them for to do an examination?
Again, when the guns go to the crime lab, the firearms examiner will will actually take the firearm and fire several test fires out of each rifle. And he will use those test fires, the casings and the bullets, to match against the ballistic or the bullets recovered from James Boyd's body. And if he can, he'll try to make a determination of which bullet came from which rifle.
All right. And so, what was the purpose of the test fires in comparing this bullet that came out of Mr. Boyd's deltoid?
The purpose of it is to figure out the only bullet that we had recovered, the intact bullet that we recovered, to find out which rifle it came from.
Okay. And what is the standard practice at APD for whether you keep the weapon that's involved in a potential homicide until trial?
The practice of the Albuquerque Police Department back then was once the firearms examination was complete, the firearms were returned to the officers.
Okay. Was that a special rule for just police shootings?
Objection to the form of the question, Your Honor.
I'll rephrase the question. What rule did you have for returning firearms in a homicide involving a citizen who shot somebody?
If it was a justified homicide by citizen, once the case is complete, the firearm would be returned to the citizen.
All right. But in a case that was still pending or that had a prosecution that was going forward, what was the practice of APD for those weapons?
Your Honor, at this point, objection to relevance.
I guess I'm asking you, was this handled in a different manner than a homicide investigation in a regular homicide?
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
What problems does it create if you return a weapon before you get to trial as far as putting the weapon into evidence at trial?
Objection to relevance indeed.
The issue that can arise within this case was if the break and chain of custody. Obviously, when the rifle is returned, as was the procedure back with the Albuquerque Police Department. Now that we're here, there's no chain of custody for the time that the rifle left the crime lab, for if the rifle was going to be brought here in court.
Okay, and how long has it been since you returned the rifle to Defendant Pettis?
I personally didn't return the rifle to him.
Well, and I'm not blaming you.
I know.
Let me rephrase it. How long has it been since it was returned to Defendant Pettis?
Your Honor, objection.
This is the rifle that was returned pursuant to policy to Defendant Pettis?
Yes.
And that was after the test fires were done?
That's correct.
Was the same thing or a similar thing done with the rifle for Defendant Sandy?
Yes.
Is that 37A1? Yes, it is, Your Honor, 37A1. Usually in a homicide case, do you usually have the weapon that was used for the jury?
Sometimes, yes.
All right. Was there a request for you to try to retrieve this firearm to bring for this jury?
Yes.
And did you try to do that?
I did.
Okay. And what did you find when you tried to get this firearm back?
I retrieved the rifle, but many of the components had been taken off or changed.
Okay. And why is it that components on a rifle might be changed?
It's each individual person might like having maybe a different type of buttstock on their rifle, or a different type of forward hand grip, a different type of sight. These types of rifles come, so many parts are interchangeable. So when it was released and subsequently back to Officer Pettis, had it gone to another officer, that officer could have changed out parts.
Okay, and in fact, when you got it back, it no longer looked anything like the rifle in this.
Beyond.
Well, was it different than how the rifle was at the time?
Yes.
Okay, and so why is it not then a good idea to bring something different in for this jury?
Just because it doesn't look like the one in the photo. So, I mean, there would be some questions as to which parts of the gun were there that night and which parts of the gun were not.
Okay. When you gave this back, did you also give back the, well, let me talk about bullets first. So take the jury through what happens and who handles the test firing and the comparison of the test fires from these rifles to the bullet that was taken from Mr. Boyd.
The test fires and all the ballistic examination is done by the firearms examiner, who in this one was Jay Stewart.
All right. And how is chain of custody maintained to make sure that you're comparing the bullets from Defendant Perez's gun to the exemplar bullet from Mr. Boyd? How do you do all of that?
Again, the chain of custody forms are filled out, and then the firearms examiner will write a report detailing his examination, and will actually annotate which evidence by the evidence number that he's examining at that time.
All right. And were test fires done in this case of the two different rifles?
Yes.
Okay, let me hand yours and mark as Exhibit 54 and Exhibit 55. And can you identify those, please, sir?
Yes, they are test fires from both rifles.
Okay, are you the one that did the comparison of the test fires of the rifles with the bullet that was taken from Mr. Boyd?
No, I was not.
Okay. And who did that, did you say?
Jay Stewart.
All right. Tell me about how they got the bullet from Mr. Boyd to be able to compare to those test fires.
Again, the bullet was taken at autopsy. Detective Nathan Render retrieved the bullet from the Office of the Medical Investigator, transported it back to the crime lab where it was tagged into evidence, and then Jay Stewart actually works at the crime lab where all the evidence is at, and then he will sign that evidence out to do his examination, and then once examination is complete, he will tag it back into evidence.
All right, and was chain of custody maintained completely appropriately for the bullet that came from OMI up until the time of the test fires?
Objection, lack of foundation. He wasn't the one that was transferred.
I'd ask you to ask.
Yes. How would you know if chain of custody was maintained from the time of autopsy until the time of the test fires?
Would have been annotated in Nathan Render's report,
All right?
as well as Jay Stewart's report.
Okay, and the purpose is to make sure that nobody tampers with that?
That's correct.
All right. Was there any evidence or any indication that anybody tampered with the bullet that came from OMI that got to evidence that then was compared in the test fire?
Objection, lack of foundation.
You can answer.
No, not that I'm aware of.
All right. And how about the test fires? How are they kept in custody to determine that you have the right ones being compared? How does that happen?
Same way. They will be, once they're collected, they're tagged in evidence.
All right. And Nathan Render can come and tell us how that was all.
Objection, testify.
Who is the person that can come tell us how all of that was done up until the point of the comparison for the test fires?
It's going to be Nathan Render, and then for the test fires, Jay Stewart.
Were they able to match the bullet in Mr. Boyd's shoulder to either of these two rifles?
Objection, lack of foundation, and any answers based on hearsay.
Judge, it's not being offered the truth of the matter asserted, but to show why he did what he did next. What was your first question?
Lack of foundation.
Okay. At some point, was there a request made of you to take this bullet to someone else to take a look, to have them do a comparison?
Yes.
Okay. And how many places has this bullet traveled to?
It's traveled to 2 different places.
All right. And how was that handled that this bullet was transported?
I personally transported the bullet along with some of the test fires and the fragment personally from one place to the other.
And why was that decision made rather than just sending it FedEx to somebody?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Because he knows he made the decision. Yeah. So.
The decision why I just didn't have the evidence sent in mail is because I don't believe that that's a proper way of handling evidence, nor is it a proper chain of custody.
Okay. Well, let's take it through. And let me head you what's marked as 53B. Can you identify that, please?
Yes.
Okay. And will it help refresh your recollection on dates to have 53I concerning where this bullet went and on what dates?
He has to ask the question first if he doesn't know the dates, and then she gets
Do you have a present memory of every date that you took this bullet to different places?
No, because I took this bullet several different times to these places, so I don't remember all the dates off the top of my head.
Refresh your recollection to have 53I, which is the printout of where the evidence went.
Yes, that plus my report.
Okay. Let me hand you 53I.
And if I could I turn to my report as well?
Absolutely.
I don't have 53 out. Can I see what when?
It was admitted at the preliminary hearing, I think.
Yesterday you sent it?
It is not, Judge. It was admitted at the preliminary. You have a